Welcome back. I set up a voicemail and that has set tonight's course. Tonight's topic is coming from the phone lines. A topic mentioned by multiple callers. I'll be diving into the shallow end of the shadow people topic. There has been some fascinating pieces of info that are more widely accepted now than ever before, and I think some of you were asking for a refresher on them. The radio show way back when was a mixture of pre-taped recordings with occasional live call-ins, and the TV show had a small tradition of doing full live call-in shows on certain holidays. We put up a notice on our live journal with the number for the Solidarity and Safety Hotline, an organization determined to bring awareness and safety regarding paranormal events, uncanny creatures, and time loops or folding. This is an information and personnel sharing contract and has little to do with monetary financing, though. That's why tonight's broadcast is being transmitted in black and white. As a cost-cutting measure, we will not be broadcasting any color pixels tonight. I've got a quick caller asking about the scope of this new format, and then we will sniff right into the main topic.
Hey, first-time caller and all that. I'm not too familiar with your previous work, but I'm enjoying this new show you're doing. I guess I'm wondering what the scope of it will be. I'm here in SoCal, and some news reports have started throwing around the term serial killer lately, and I'd be super interested to know what you and your research assistants can dig up.
We will certainly try to keep you up to date on any danger, paranormal or even just regular normal. Both of them have the ability to get pretty crazy, and I think right now that is the only criteria for our topic choice. As far as talk on the news about them goes, I assume you are referring to the pinhole murderer, leaving the occasional victim with a tiny little hole in their skull and brain partially drained scattered around convenience stores across the greater Los Angeles area. However, both the cat food killer and the lady they nicknamed Skin Paste are both going through legal battles and have been top of mind lately because of that. But yes, we will branch out when appropriate. Now for a group of calls about the main topic. The term shadow people has often encompassed any watchful, dark or shadowy entity that often seems to vanish before we can get a good look. Due to this loose definition and the high frequency of sightings, we really have a diverse group of creatures. Let's get into the calls.
Hi, I'm a little nervous. I don't call into things like this, but I really wanted to share this with you. When I was just a kid, I had a friend that followed me around. He was this thin, dark person. It was like his body was just made out of some dense, black, almost invisible substance. He was both there and somehow not there. He was always around me. He would melt into the walls if I looked at him too closely, but if I just kept him around, he would give me little clues on things to do, things that I would get in trouble after I did them. He sure wanted me to get my parents mad. He loved that I would listen to him and cause some trouble. Now as an adult, I've read some stuff about shadow people, and I feel like my imaginary friend might have been just that. Thanks for listening.
Here we've got a young girl being enticed into giving her parents and teachers a hard time by her imaginary friend. Kids are the most common to actively notice a shadow person in the moment. Children are often attributed as being particularly sensitive to supernatural things like spirits, ghosts, and anything else with only 1 foot on the earthly side of the spiritual wall. In her case, the shadow person influenced her behavior. Shadow people being that active isn't unheard of, but it's also a less common behavior of them. We've got another call from someone with memories from their childhood portraying a more common type of shadow person. One of the information gatherers. Assigned a human to take notes on, seemingly. A modern take on the purpose of shadow people basically paints them as the spies of the spiritual world.
So I just wanted to take this opportunity to call in real quick. The air quality is pretty bad where I am, and we don't get power once we've sealed the windows. You know how it is. When I was a small kid, maybe around 7 or 8, I would see this adult-sized being in my room at night. Almost always looked as if he was wrapped in bandages, or at least bundled up pretty well. There wasn't any real body to see, though. More like a man-shaped emptiness. Definitely had weight to it. A commanding presence. It would watch me, sometimes slowly change positions in the room. It would move, very slowly, against the wall, as far back from me as it could be, adjusting to get a new angle. Or something. I wonder if it still watches me and I just can't see it anymore. I assume it is still around. Anyway, I'm a local and my dad used to watch your show. Glad you're back and thanks for listening.
A silent observer. What are they watching for and who is dishing out assignments? I'll touch upon that in a moment. But first, briefly, here is a common line of thought regarding the bigger picture. The shadow people are frequently described as being of the jinn category of paranormal creatures. While jinn are predominantly humanoid in appearance, they can also appear in an animal form, which lines up with shadow people sightings. The jinn are very task-oriented and purposeful in their actions. They are often tied to objects, locations, or people in a servant capacity, either to protect or guard what binds them or to serve the owner of a specific artifact. For example, a famous contemporary alleged instance of shadow people being tied to a location is in Deming, New Mexico at the Hidden Valley Ranch RV resort where Steve Henson and his wife, Gail, purchased a 120 acres of land. Unfortunately for them, they have been absolutely swamped with paranormal events, bizarre creatures, and potential UFO sightings. Chief among them, according to Steve and Gail, are a collective of shadow people that are known for scaring their guests, going so far as to hide their possessions, crawl along the tops of visitors' RVs, and even steal their food. Despite decades of attempts to cast out the shadow people from the luxurious 4.5-star RV resort, they seem to be incapable of moving. Steve Henson has remarked in prior interviews that he is certain there is something about the land or hidden there that is preventing the shadow collective from being expelled. That sounds like some pretty active entities, though. Only the stronger shadow people seem to have the ability to manifest so far into our physical world that manipulation of items like that is a possibility. We know very little about the more unique shadow people, but the most well-known is a tall humanoid that is often seen wearing a distinctive hat. Due to this affectation, he has been dubbed the Hat Man. Of the knowledge collected and shared concerning these beings, a lot of it points to a woman named Heidi Hollis who gave the uncreative but quite fitting name to the shadow people as well as the Hat Man himself. She has written books on her experiences with them as well as collected the experiences of others. She has contributed greatly to a number of paranormal topics and certainly deserves some amount of your attention if you are fascinated by the wonder of the unknown and unexplained. Her website serves as a great hub to her many books, podcasts, and blog posts on the topic. Being out of the paranormal loop while I was off the air has me in over my head on this. She has too much information to sift through, but I do want to share a clip from a podcast she released just a few years ago. An episode that specifically discusses the Hat Man. After years of documenting the activity of the shadow people, Heidi came across a sculpture by Austrian occultist Rudolf Steiner that Heidi says is the face of the Hat Man. She explains.
This Ahriman, this entity that Rudolf Steiner had sit still for him to sculpt this face, and it was said to me by a couple of people, and I said to my friend Maureen Seberg, who else could have recognized him besides myself, the person who's been tracking him for years with thousands of reports from around the globe, and researched and first dubbed there was a problem going on with this man in a suit that didn't quite look human all the time. Now, I mentioned that there's a reason why some people report him looking differently. Sometimes he's clean cut, sometimes you don't see a face, other times you do. It's because there are others who are working for him as well now. And that is quite a story as well on top of it all. But what's important to note is the origins of the original Hat Man descriptions are of this Ahriman. And Ahriman that Rudolf Steiner sculpted has a very elongated face, very pointed chin, almond-shaped eyes, but they're different from like gray alien beings, and very pointed features. Absolutely what Hat Man is described as, and the original stories that I would get.
Well, that certainly is some weird, wild stuff. On top of the discovery of the face sculpture of the Hat Man in Heidi's first book, The Secret War, she talks about the role of the Shadow People and Hat Man in a cosmic battle with other paranormal beings where our physical realm is a battlefield to be won. An unsettling and scary topic, definitely, and I've got a feeling if there is some war and the Shadow People are on one of the sides with aliens on the other. Well, at some point we may just have to decide, as humans, where on the field we will be standing. Well, that is it for tonight's broadcast. I had fun and I hope you did too. Keep your lights on, seal your windows, and keep sniffing out for the truth.